Welcome on into Falcons today. Matthew Peterson here. Hoping you guys are enjoying the bye. I thought we could look at the ESPN mock draft that just came out a few days ago from Matt Miller, see who they had the Falcons taking, which, spoiler, I think you guys are going to like a lot. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. We'll build up to Atlanta's selection going pick by pick, but we'll kind of speed through some of the earlier ones here. How about the Giants, though? Trading up, I think it was, for Shedeur Sanders. You got Travis Hunter going to the Browns. You got the Jags addressing the offensive line. That always seems like a safe play. Cam Ward going to the Raiders. Then we have Luther Burden going to the Titans from Mizzou. Moving along here, we have Will Johnson to the Patriots, and a couple of other edge rushers go. Mykel Williams to the Bengals at number 10. Abdul Carter from Penn State to the Jets at number 7. Inching our way towards Atlanta, who is not picking in this mock draft until number 20, and that's just based on the current standings right now. Handful of defensive linemen going right before Atlanta, which is a little bit of a bummer because that's definitely their biggest position of need. I know that Georgia fans watching this won't like this, but I think we can all agree Carson Beck is not a first-round quarterback, so I don't know what Matt Miller is smoking, but he has him going to the Rams at number 18. That is a head-scratcher. But finally, we get to the Falcons at pick number 20. And drum roll, please. It is Nic Scourton out of Texas A&M. So Atlanta addresses their desperate need for some help at the pass rusher position in round 1 this year after going Michael Penix in round 2 of last year. So let me get you guys familiar with maybe a future Falcon. I'm not going to say it like I did for some other draft picks last year, but Scourton, 6'4", 285 pounds. So we can stop right there and go, that's a massive human being. Like, that's one of those guys that you don't really appreciate how large they are until you see them in person. So I'm sure during the combine, he's going to impress GMs and scouts when they see how big he is and how relatively fast he moves. Now, he doesn't have an incredible first step, but he does have a lot of production. Look at his career stats. 2 years with the Boilermakers in West Lafayette. He led the Big Ten in sacks in 2023 with 10. This year in College Station, as we approach the end of the year, he's got 5 sacks, so a bit of a dip in production, which is always a little bit of a concern for teams, but more often than not, they are looking for the intangibles, right? They want to see how big you are, how fast you move, how much you bend, and they really want to see what the physical makeup is, and then they trust their own coaches to coach you up to get all those sacks. So, for me, I think it's a no-brainer when I say pass rusher no matter what. Remember the scene in Draft Day where it's Vontae Mack no matter what? For me, I don't care what name it is, as long as it's a pass rusher in round 1. I really don't care who else is available. Like, it could be the next Randy Moss. You have to go pass rusher if you are the Atlanta Falcons. Matthew Judon leads the team with 2.5 sacks. Guys, it's almost Thanksgiving. And the person who leads the Falcons in sacks has 2.5. I mean, I'm looking around and seeing rookies have more than the Falcons' number 1 pass rusher. So this is an absolute no-brainer. It's the easiest pick for all the mock drafters to hand in. We thought last year would be pass rusher. They surprised us. There will be no surprises this year. Now, I'm not ready to confirm or to predict who will be a Falcon like I did last year, allegedly. Not really allegedly, I did. But that day will come. We have a long ways until then, though. That's not going to be until March and April. So, for now, we can focus on the rest of the season. But it is fun for us to kind of peek ahead a little bit, especially if you're a draft junkie like myself. And I always love looking ahead. Now, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We are closing in on 30,000 subscribers. So, one last push. Help us get there so we can get a watch party for next week's Falcons game against the Chargers. Now, the question that you might be asking is, okay, we go edge rusher, but which edge rusher, right? Let's start to narrow our focus and narrow our search a little bit. Is Scourton from Texas A&M the best man for the job for Atlanta? We're going to answer that question in the second half of the video. But I do want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Factor. Do you guys notice how days are shorter, but your to-do lists aren't? Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. From breakfast to dinner and anything in between, Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like your routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. Factor lets you do you. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 and use code FalconsChat50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code FalconsChat50 at factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. When it comes to which edge rusher Atlanta should take, I'm just going to say right now, as we get into the last couple of weeks of the college football season, I weigh these final few weeks very heavily. I feel like we have to magnify conference championship games, playoff games, because that's when the stakes are at their highest. And that's when I want to see the stars shine bright for players. In the NFL, week 3 can be evaluated the same as week 11. In college football, I don't think we can have that same approach. I don't think week 1 against the school of deaf and blind can be evaluated the same as an SEC championship game. So I look at these last couple of weeks very closely, which is why I don't like making profound like opinions or proclamations on prospects because they have not played the most important games yet. Now, if you are looking for a list of names, that I can give you. Mel Kiper has his top 4 or top 10 players at each position. Here are the top 4 at defensive ends and outside linebackers. So from a true defensive end, which if Scourton came to the Falcons, he would be kind of like a Calais Campbell of last year, right? Where he would be down lineman in a 3-4 defense. He would not be an outside linebacker. He's got him number 1 ahead of his teammate Shemar Stewart. Meanwhile, when it comes to outside linebackers, these are more of your Matthew Judons in a 3-4 defense. You got Abdul Carter from Penn State. He's awesome. Mykel Williams in Athens. James Pearce up in Knoxville. And then Mike Green out of Marshall, who, if we look at the Dane Brugler top 50 list, just to give you guys a little bit more variety, you can see the similarities and differences between 2 draft experts. I prefer Dane Brugler over Mel Kiper. I just called Mel Kiper out. I mean, no Tennessee bias here. He did not even have Dylan Sampson in his top 10 running backs. Dylan Sampson has 21 touchdowns, guys. He is a top 10 running back in the country. So, of the two lists here, 2 guys that jump out to me that might be a little bit more on the wishful side of thinking, Mykel Williams from UGA and James Pearce from UT. Neither player has astonishing production in their career. James Pearce put together an awesome 2023 season, got off to a little bit of a slow 2024 season when it comes to just box score hunting, but he has still put up some really good numbers in SEC games. Here's what Brugler wrote on both of these prospects here. If you guys are looking for some more in-depth analysis on them, I'll let you guys read. I won't bore you by just reading to you like a 5-year-old. But James Pearce is a lengthy, athletic, incredible burst-driven edge rusher who, I mean, can line up not just, I wouldn't say anywhere because he doesn't have the frame to be kicked inside, but he's got an incredible first step in. It's not quite as explosive as Dallas Turner's last year coming out of Alabama, but he's got a better closing ability than Turner did. Meanwhile, as for Mykel Williams, he is, I want to say, like, and Georgia fans watching this can tell me I'm wrong, but I want to say a little bit of a Trayvon Walker light. I mean, he's not nearly as big, fast, or as strong as Walker, but similar to Walker, he doesn't have crazy production, but what he does have is things you can't coach. Really good size and really good speed for that size. And I think Trayvon Walker was an early pick for number 1 overall by the Jags, but the guy's been two things for Jacksonville. Available, he's been healthy for his entire career, and productive. Now, he's been outshined by Aiden Hutchinson as we kind of make this a Jags podcast for a moment here. But Atlanta, if they're finding someone like that in round 1, pick 20-ish, that's awesome value at that point. That's incredible value at that point. So either one of those pass rushers would be fine by me. The big question is, do they fall to the Atlanta Falcons? Now, who do you want Atlanta to draft? I know we are a long ways away from the draft, but if you enjoy watching college football, maybe you've got your eye on a certain someone in the SEC or somewhere else in the country that you feel like would do a great job in ATL next year. So I want to hear from everyone down below. Before we sign off, I just want to say thank you to the Dirty Birds Club for always being such loyal supporters of the channel. If you want to get added to the club, come hang out with us during our watch parties, which will come back next week when the bye is over for the Chargers game in Atlanta. And a $100 super chat will add you to the club to get shout outs all year long. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Make sure to like the video if you haven't already. It would go a really long way to support the channel, and I'll see you guys throughout the week.